They said I had a mental breakdown when I was 17. But what really happened was a cover-up so clean, it erased me from my own life. I grew up in a town so small, even your secrets had neighbors. Everyone knew who your grandfather voted for, how many stitches your cousin needed after falling out of that oak tree, and exactly how long it took the Jenkins boy to get right after his nervous episode in '72. It was the kind of place where girls were taught to keep quiet, smile during church, and never sit in the back row unless you wanted the pastor's wife asking questions. In the summer of 1976, I had just turned 17. My world was built on Habit Sunday service, school dances, and ironing dresses so crisp they looked like they could cut you. That all changed the moment Caleb Turner walked into my life. Caleb was the golden son of Judge Raymond Turner, the kind of man whose name alone could freeze a courtroom. Caleb had his father's smile, but none of his cold. He was sun-drenched, slow-talking, and dangerous in that way Southern boys are when they know you've never been kissed. We kept our relationship secret, not because it was shameful, but because I wasn't Turner material. I didn't care. I was in love, or maybe I was just 17 and stupid. But when I missed my period and the test turned pink, I realized what we had wasn't a summer fling. It was a problem, a scandal, a liability. And in towns like mine, liabilities disappear. I still remember the test. I bought it 2 towns over, paid in cash, and stuffed it deep inside my purse like it was contraband. When it turned positive, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there on the edge of my bed, staring at that second pink line, wondering if this was how girls became ghosts. I told Caleb that same night. He didn't speak right away, just stared at the floor, chewing the inside of his cheek like he was trying to swallow something bigger than the truth. When he finally looked up, he didn't say, "We'll figure it out," or "I'm here." He just said, "I'll talk to my family." The next morning, everything felt off. My mom was making pancakes, but she didn't hum like she usually did. My dad didn't say grace. No one made eye contact. By lunch, Caleb called again. "It's being handled," he said. What did that mean? It's being handled. 2 days later, my bedroom door didn't have a lock. My phone charger disappeared. The radio in the kitchen stopped working. My best friend Ellie hadn't called. My mother wouldn't look me in the eye, and my father wouldn't say my name. Then came the knock. A car I didn't recognize parked out front. A man I'd never seen stood in the doorway and said, "You're coming with me." I remember glancing at my parents. Neither one flinched. That's when it hit me. I hadn't told them. Caleb had. The farmhouse was 50 miles from anything I knew. No street signs, no cell service. No road noise, just whined against the old siding and the hum of something not quite natural. The man who drove me there didn't speak a word. He just gripped the wheel like silence was part of the job. I asked where we were going. He didn't answer. I asked again. Nothing. He dropped me off with a woman named Margaret, who smelled like dust and lye. She said she was family. I'd never seen her before. The house had no TV, no radio, just a worn Bible on the table and a photo of a soldier no one mentioned. I wasn't allowed outside. When I asked why, she said rest is obedience. I hadn't told my parents I left. I hadn't packed a bag. I hadn't agreed to anything. And yet, I was there. Like the decision had been made before I even missed my period. Time didn't move right in that place. Days bled into each other. The air was heavy, like it remembered screams. I spoke to the baby in whispers just so I could hear a voice that didn't lie. No one wrote. No one visited. I wasn't sick, but I was being treated like a secret disease. Caleb didn't call. Ellie vanished. My name, my voice, my choices, all scrubbed clean. I wasn't recovering. I was disappearing. And that house was the eraser. One morning, I heard voices outside the farmhouse, low, deliberate, male. I peeked through the lace curtain and saw a black Buick in the driveway. Judge Raymond Turner. He didn't knock. He didn't even glance at the house. He just stood on the porch, speaking to Aunt Margaret in tones too calm to be casual. She nodded the whole time, her eyes fixed on the dirt like it was sacred. When he left, she handed me a suitcase and said, "They found a better place for you." No explanation. No apology. I asked where I was going. She didn't answer. Just closed the door behind her like she was sealing me in. That night, Caleb came. It was the first time I'd seen him since the day I told him. He looked thinner. His eyes had that glassy sheen of someone who wasn't sleeping well, or someone who'd been told to forget something important. He stood in the doorway like a stranger holding guilt. Then he said it. "There's a clinic in Ohio. My family's covering it. You'll be fine." I told him I didn't want to go. Begged him to tell my parents the truth. That's when his voice cracked. "It's too late for all that." He said, "It's already been handled. Like I was a mess to clean up." That was the moment my heart stopped believing in love. Not because he didn't choose me, but because he never had to. The choice was never mine. I wasn't a girlfriend. I wasn't a daughter. I wasn't even a person anymore. I was a loose thread, and they were here to cut me clean. I didn't go to the clinic. I waited until Aunt Margaret's breathing deepened past midnight, then packed the suitcase she'd handed me, still tagged with someone else's name, and slipped out the back door like a rumor no one wanted to admit was true. I walked 5 miles under a bruised moon, gravel biting through the soles of my shoes, until I found a gas station with a flickering sign and a payphone that smelled like mildew and old regrets. I dialed the only number I still remembered by heart. Ellie answered on the 3rd ring. She cried before I even spoke. For a while, I stayed hidden in her basement. Her parents didn't ask questions. They didn't need to. Everyone in that town already had their version of my story. Breakdown, mental episode, gone away for treatment. No one called it what it was, exile. I gave birth at a women's shelter in Louisville. A girl. I named her Hope. Years later, at a wedding, one of Caleb's cousins got drunk and told someone the truth. How the Turners faked the records. Paid the doctor. How they nearly erased a girl like she was a clerical error. It spread, quietly, like mold behind wallpaper. I moved 3 states away. Changed my name. Hope's in college now. She doesn't know the full story. Not yet. But someday, I'll tell her. Not so she'll feel sorry for me. So she'll understand this power protects itself. And if you ever get in the way, it doesn't kill you. It just erases you. And that was only the beginning. Power protects itself. And if you ever get in the way, it doesn't kill you. It just erases you. If you ever stumble across something in the woods that looks like it wasn't meant to be found, don't take pictures. Don't touch anything. And whatever you do, don't post it online. We weren't looking for trouble. We were just bored. It was a Saturday in late spring. The kind of warm where the air feels soft and forgiving. No cell signal. No deadlines. Just me, Jordan, Will, and Rachel. 4 college kids from Jackson, Mississippi. Hungry for silence. We'd heard about a trail system east of the city. Public land nobody really cared about. The kind of place where maps blur and compasses stop pointing anywhere useful. Hikers online said it was underrated. We thought it sounded perfect. About 2 hours in, the trail thinned out. We wandered off course standard for us. That's when we saw the first cross. It was small, handmade, crooked, stuck in the ground like a warning no one bothered to write down. We joked at first. Will said it looked like some redneck version of a Blair Witch prop. But the more we walked, the more we saw. Dozens. Crosses. Ribbons tied to trees. Dolls made from cloth and hair. Bone fragments. Melted candles sunk into the dirt like wax had bled from the forest itself. And the air. It was too still. The birds had gone quiet. We didn't say it aloud, but we all felt it. We'd wandered into something old. Something watching. And we didn't leave empty-handed. We didn't talk much on the way home. Will had gotten weird. He stopped cracking jokes and kept checking the rearview mirror like someone was tailing us, even though the road behind was empty. Jordan was white-knuckling the map, insisting we'd taken a different trail in, but the GPS had us driving through a town that didn't exist anymore. Rachel deleted the photos from her phone before we even hit pavement. Just in case, she muttered, which was strange coming from someone who'd live-streamed herself cliff-jumping 3 weeks earlier. I kept mine. I don't know why. Maybe part of me thought posting them would make it real. That night, I uploaded the doll, the bone fragments, the melted wax in a Facebook album titled, "What Did We Just Walk Into?" At 2:43 a.m., I got the first message. It was a photo. My house. Taken from across the street. Dark. Still. Too perfect. I stared at it for a full minute before checking the sender. No name. No mutuals. The account had no profile picture. No friends. No posts. Then a second message came in. This one was just a word, delete. My chest felt like it dropped through the floor. I checked the blinds. No one was outside. I deleted the post. But when I refreshed my feed, the album was still there. And someone had added a new photo. It was me standing in the woods, only I don't remember anyone taking that picture. I tried to act normal the next day. I went to class. I nodded through conversations. But my body felt thin. Like something had peeled a layer off me while I was sleeping. Rachel blocked me on everything. Will ghosted the group chat. Jordan texted once, just 2 words. Don't answer. That's when I realized I wasn't the only one getting messages. I turned off my phone. Threw it in a drawer. But that night, my laptop blinked to life on its own. No startup sound. No fan noise. Just screen. There was a video file on the desktop. I didn't put it there. It was footage from the woods. But not what I filmed. It was from behind me. You could see me kneeling near one of the dolls, trying to adjust the lighting. And just behind me, partially hidden in the trees, was a figure. Still. Watching. Wearing something that looked like bones threaded into cloth. I slammed the lid shut. My heart was in my throat. I went to the window and saw muddy footprints leading up to the porch. But they didn't lead away. No one believed me. Not my roommate. Not campus security. I stopped telling people. I could feel their eyes say, "You brought this on yourself." But I wasn't crazy. I wasn't sleep deprived. I was being warned, and I was starting to think the warning came too late. I finally decided to talk to someone, an old professor who taught Appalachian folklore. He looked at the photos for 3 seconds before slamming the laptop shut. "You need to destroy whatever you brought back," he said, dead serious. "And not just the photos, the memory. These things, they're not symbols, They're invitations. I told him I didn't bring anything. He just looked at me and said, "You sure about that?" That night, I tore through my room, closet, drawers, nothing, until I opened the backpack I'd taken on the hike. There, tucked in the smallest pocket, was a ribbon. Red. Frayed. Tied in a knot I didn't know how to make. I don't remember picking it up. I don't remember seeing it. But it smelled like smoke, and something older than fire. The next message came at 3:06 a.m. It was a video again, but not of me. It was of Jordan. He was standing in his dorm hallway, barefoot, crying. Behind him, blurry but unmistakable, was the same figure from the woods. Then the screen went black. I called. No answer. I drove across campus, banging on his door until someone called security. They said he dropped out that morning. No forwarding address. No goodbye. Just gone. That's when I realized this wasn't a haunting. This was a harvest. And we weren't visitors in that forest. We were offerings. That was 2 years ago. I don't talk to Will or Rachel anymore. Not because of what happened, because I can't find them. Phone numbers disconnected. Socials wiped. It's like they never existed outside the woods. I still see the ribbon sometimes. Not physically. Just out of place. In dreams. In reflections. Once, I swore it was tied to a stranger's wrist on the subway. Frayed. Red. Burned at the edge. Jordan was never found. But sometimes I get calls from a blocked number. When I answer, well, there's just breathing. Not heavy, just close. Like the phone is against someone's chest and they're waiting for me to say something. I never do. Last week, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a photo. It was me. From behind. Standing in front of the forest trailhead. But here's the thing, I never took that path. That's the part we skipped. And yet, there I was. Staring into the trees like I knew what was waiting. I sleep with the lights on now. I don't go hiking. I don't explore. Some places don't want to be found. And some things don't follow you home. They bring you back. So if you ever find yourself walking deeper into the woods than you meant to, and the birds stop singing, and the air turns still, remember this. Not everything that watches you from the trees wants you gone. Some of it wants you to stay. Forever. It was just a Halloween prank. That's all it was until someone didn't come home. Every small town has that one house, the one you dared your friends to knock on. The one you swore was cursed, even if no one could tell you why. For us, that house belonged to Mr. Delvin. He lived alone on the edge of town, in a sagging white farmhouse with boarded windows and a no trespassing sign that had more rust than paint. The yard was always overgrown. The porch light never turned on, and every October, like clockwork, he vanished. No decorations, no candy, just a dark, silent warning, stay away. We didn't. Me and my brother Cole made it our Halloween tradition. Toilet paper the trees, leave fake body parts on his porch, ding-dong ditch and run like hell. It was harmless. Dumb. Yeah, but harmless. Until the year he decorated. Pumpkins. Cobwebs. A full graveyard set up on the lawn. Even a motion sensor skeleton that screamed when you walked by. We should have taken the hint then. Mr. Delvin hadn't decorated for 20 years. Everyone knew that. Some said he hated Halloween. Others said he'd been through something dark and wanted to be left alone. But that year, it was like he was inviting us back. And for some reason, we went. Only this time, only one of us came home. We waited until midnight. That was part of the tradition. Cole had a bag full of rubber rats, ketchup packets, and a note that read, "We're watching you, Delvin." Dumb. But that's what made it funny. Except, when we got there, something felt off. The porch light was on. That alone was weird enough. I'd never seen it lit. Not once. But what made me stop cold was the smell. Sweet. Metallic. Like rotting fruit left in the sun. Cole laughed it off, said Mr. Delvin probably finally lost his mind and joined the party. We crept up the steps. The front door was cracked open. Not wide. Just enough to see inside. The house was clean. Spotless. That's what made it worse. No dust. No clutter. Just old furniture wrapped in plastic and a bowl of candy sitting dead center on the table. Full-size bars. Untouched. Cole grabbed one. I didn't. As he did. Something on the wall caught my eye, an old photo in a black frame. I stepped closer. It was us. Me and Cole. Last Halloween. Standing on this exact porch. Same clothes. Same poses. But no one took that picture. I asked him where he got the photo. He turned pale. Said he didn't know. Said maybe someone was messing with us. But I could see it in his eyes he didn't believe that. And neither did I. After that night, things got strange. Cole got sick. Not the flu. Not a cold, something else. He stopped eating. Started sleepwalking. I'd wake up at 3 to find him standing in the hallway, barefoot, whispering things like, he said it's almost ready. I asked who he meant. He didn't remember saying it. Then the trick-or-treaters came early. October 26th. I opened the door and found 3 kids in plastic masks, standing completely still. No movement. No trick or treat. Just silence. Then one of them held out a folded paper and walked away. It was a photo. Same porch. Same night. But this time, only I was in the frame. Cole was missing. When I asked around at school, people said they hadn't seen him in days, but I'd eaten breakfast with him that morning. I'd driven him to class. Except my car didn't have his backpack anymore. His toothbrush was gone. His bed was made, like he'd never existed. I tried calling Mom. The number didn't go through. I checked Cole's socials, every account deleted. Then the lights in the house flickered. The TV turned on by itself. Static. Just static. Until the screen showed one word. Liar. That's when I realized whatever this was, it wasn't about Delvin anymore. It was about me. And something I forgot to confess. I dug through old boxes in the attic that night, looking for anything, any clue. What I found stopped my breath cold. A newspaper clipping, dated October 31st, 2002. Local boy dies in Halloween. Prank gone wrong. The photo was Mr. Delvin's house. And the boy in the picture, dressed as a vampire, face bloodied from a fall down the porch stairs, was Cole. Not my brother Cole. A different Cole. His name was Cole Andrew Delvin. It hit me like a freight train. The truth I'd buried for years. My real name isn't Jay. It's Jason Delvin. Mr. Delvin is my grandfather. I was 6 when my cousin died. We were pulling a prank. He slipped, cracked his head open. Everyone said it was an accident, but I remembered laughing. I remembered running. My parents left town a week later. Changed our names. Moved states. Told me never to speak about that night again. And I didn't. Until this Halloween. Until I came back to that house. Until I brought Cole. The static on the TV returned. Louder. This time. It wasn't just noise. It was a voice. You brought him here. So now we bring him back. I dropped the remote. My legs gave out. Because suddenly, I understood. This wasn't revenge from the past. This was justice. And I was the one who opened the door. No one remembers Cole. Not just friends or classmates, no one. His name's not in the yearbook. No school records. Not even our family photos. The space where he stood is just air. Cropped shoulders. Tilted gaps. I asked my mom if she remembered my brother. She looked at me like I was insane. You're an only child, Jason. I wanted to scream, to pull up texts, old photos proof. But my phone was clean. No messages. No albums. My iCloud login didn't even recognize the name Cole. Like he never existed. And maybe he doesn't anymore. But I remember. Every night. I dream of that porch. The lights flickering. The bowl of candy untouched. And a boy standing at the edge of the yard. Face pale. Eyes hollow. Whispering. You left me twice. I don't answer the door on Halloween anymore. I tape black paper over every window. I keep the house silent. But they still come. Not trick-or-treaters. Not ghosts. Witnesses. They stand at the edge of my property. Always in threes. Wearing cheap plastic masks. Watching. Waiting. I think it's penance. Or maybe I've just slipped somewhere I was never meant to come back from. I live in a house with no mirrors now, because I'm scared of what I might see behind me. And every year, on October 31st at exactly midnight, someone knocks once. Just once. I don't open it. Because the longer I wait, the more the voice outside sounds like mine. The ad said, charming rental home, quiet, isolated, no neighbors for miles. They forgot to mention the knocking that starts at exactly 2:13 a.m. I'd just gone through a breakup. The kind that makes you pack everything you own into a Honda Civic and drive until the map turns gray. I didn't care where I ended up, just needed cheap rent. No questions. And silence. That's how I found the place. The listing was buried under estate sales and foreclosure notices. No photos. Just a short description and a contact email with no name. The price, too good to be real. But when you're running, too good starts sounding like just right. The landlord never met me in person. Just emailed instructions, keypad code, and a message, do not answer the door after 2:13 a.m. No matter what you hear. I thought it was a joke. Some quirky local superstition. I laughed about it when I moved in. The house itself was strange. Old but spotless. Not a speck of dust. Not even in the vents. Every clock in the house was synced down to the second. Doors creaked open like they were waiting for you. But that first night, at exactly 2:13 a.m., I heard the knock. 3 soft taps. Measured. Precise. Not frantic. Not accidental. Like someone or something had been waiting for that exact moment. The first time it happened, I told myself it was just a branch. A loose shutter. Old wood settling in the cold. But when I checked the next morning, the porch was bare. No trees nearby. No wind. And the front door had 3 tiny dents in it, spaced like knuckles. I started setting alarms. Tomorrow, my. Every night. Just to be ready. On the 3rd night, I stayed up. Sat in the living room with all the lights off, facing the door like I was waiting for a package. At exactly 2:13 a.m., The grandfather clock in the hallway chimed once, just once, even though it had never chimed before. Then the knocking came. 3 slow taps. But this time, I heard something else. Breathing. Not panicked, calm, like someone standing close enough to fog the doorframe. I held my breath, didn't move. It lasted 7 seconds, then stopped. In the morning, the clocks were off. Every single one of them had reset to 2:13 a.m. Even my phone. And when I checked the timestamp on the security footage I installed the night before, the video froze right at 2:12 a.m., then resumed again at 2:14. Like something didn't want to be seen, or worse, didn't want to be remembered. That was the moment I stopped believing it was just a house, and started wondering if I'd stepped into a place where time obeys something else entirely. I tried leaving the house the next day. The road I came in on was gone, not blocked, not overgrown, just not there. It ended in trees. And when I turned back, the house looked different, older, like it had been abandoned for years. But when I stepped onto the porch again, it reset: new paint, clean wood, locked door waiting for my code. I stopped sleeping. Every night. Same pattern. 2:13, 3 knocks. Then silence. Then whispers through the vents. Sometimes I'd hear my own voice, repeating words I never said. Open it. Open it. Let it in. On night 6, I tried something new. I opened the door. Nothing was there. But my reflection was standing on the porch, staring back at me, wearing a shirt I'd never owned. It didn't blink. Didn't move. Just watched. I slammed the door shut. The lights flickered. Every appliance in the house turned on at once: blender, TV, microwave blaring static, flashing time: 2:13, 2:13, 2:13. I unplugged everything. The noise didn't stop. The next morning, I checked my phone. 10 missed calls from unknown. Voicemails. All silence except for one. A voice. Slow and calm. We've been waiting since the first knock. I ran to the front door. The dents were deeper now. Fresh. And this time, there were 4 of them. I finally checked the attic. There was no ladder, but something in the house pulled me there like it wanted me to look. I stacked a chair, climbed up, pushed the hatch. The air was still. Inside, I found a small wooden box. No dust. Just a note inside. Written in my handwriting. Don't let him in again. Again. Underneath the note was a photo. It was me, standing in the doorway. But I was smiling. And behind me, the clock read 2:13. Only I have no memory of that moment. The next night, I nailed the door shut, covered it in salt, drew a protective symbol from some forgotten Reddit thread. But the knocks came anyway. This time, from inside the walls. I screamed, ran to the bathroom, locked the door. In the mirror, it wasn't me. Same face, same eyes, but something was missing. That version of me blinked half a second too late, mouthed something I couldn't hear, then smiled and kept smiling long after I'd turned away. When I stepped back into the hallway, the clocks had stopped. But outside, the knocking continued. Not 3 times, but 6. I looked at my phone. There was a video. It was a live stream, titled, "You're Not Alone in That House." And the thumbnail was me, sleeping. But I hadn't slept in 5 days. I don't remember how long I've been here. The clock stopped counting days a while ago. My phone doesn't work. My watch only says 2:13 always, 2:13. I've tried everything. Smashing windows, burning sage, even setting the house on fire. The flames never catch. The walls reset every morning, like I never touched them. But the knocking doesn't stop. Each night, it comes earlier. 2:12, 2:11. Now sometimes at 2:06, and the knocks. There are more of them now. 7, 8. Last night, it knocked 13 times. I think it's counting down. I've stopped looking in mirrors. The reflection doesn't follow my movements anymore. It lags, like a bad video call. Sometimes it watches me sleep. Sometimes I catch it smiling when I'm crying. A few days ago, if you can still call them days, I found my own voice recorded on my phone, repeating something over and over. You're the one who opened it. Now you don't get to leave. But the most terrifying part, I don't remember ever saying that. And yet, it sounds right. I've started hearing footsteps in the attic. Slow, deliberate, heavier than mine. Once, I opened the hatch. It was empty. But when I came back downstairs, my reflection was already waiting. It stared at me through the window. Same face, same eyes. But this one blinked first. I slammed the door, ran to my room. There was someone in my bed, sleeping, wearing my clothes, breathing in sync with mine. I watched for hours. It never stirred, never opened its eyes. But this morning, I woke up in the hallway, and now I'm not sure which side of the door I'm on anymore. So if you're watching this, if you find this recording, don't come looking for this house. Because once you hear the knocking, you've already let something in. Every hotel skips room 404, but not this one. And I made the mistake of checking in. I travel for work. Sales rep for a dying company selling things no one wants to buy. So I bounce from one dusty town to the next, sleep in chain motels with stained carpets and vending machines that only accept coins minted before 1999. That night, I was too tired to care. The clerk at the front desk didn't smile, didn't ask for ID, just slid a key card across the counter and said, "You'll be in 404. Top floor. Elevator's broken." I almost laughed. Everyone knows hotels skip that number. It's not superstition, it's branding. Like how there's no 13th floor, no room 666. You just don't use that number. But this place didn't care. When I got to the top floor, the hallway lights flickered like they were struggling to stay on. The carpet had a weird pattern almost like symbols, stretched and broken. And there were only 2 rooms, 403 and 404. The door to 403 was nailed shut, multiple boards, like something was trying to get out or worse, someone was trying to keep it in. I slid the key into 404. It clicked. The door creaked open before I touched it. I should have turned back then, but I didn't. And the moment I stepped inside, I swear I heard the door whisper. Finally, the room looked normal, too normal. Single bed, beige walls, a painting of a boat on still water. Not a single wrinkle in the sheets, not a speck of dust on the lamp. Even the minibar was full, which never happens in budget hotels. But something felt off. The air was still, too still, like the room was vacuum sealed. When I breathed out, the air didn't move. My exhale just vanished. I flicked on the TV. Static. Tried every channel. Nothing but white noise. Until one station suddenly clicked in. No sound. Just a live video feed. Of me. Sitting on the bed. But in the footage, I wasn't moving. I was staring directly into the camera. Unblinking. Mouth slightly open. I turned off the TV. I stood. Walked to the window. Outside. The world was frozen. Cars parked mid-turn. People caught mid-step. A bird hung in the sky like it had been glued there. I blinked hard. The phone on the nightstand rang. No caller ID. I answered. Silence until I heard my own voice whisper, slow and breathless. Don't sleep. If you sleep, you'll stay. I dropped the phone and realized I hadn't heard the door close when I came in, because it never closed. It was waiting for me to notice. And now it was gone. I opened the door to leave. It led to the hallway, but not the one I came from. The wallpaper was wrong, red instead of green. The pattern twisted, repeating itself every 6 feet like a broken GIF. I walked left, then right. Tried the stairs. They curved endlessly downward. After 15 minutes of walking, I found another door. Room 404. I hadn't turned once. Back inside, the bed was made again. My bag was zipped. My phone was fully charged. But the timestamp October 18th, 2:04 a.m. I'd checked in on October 17th, 10 minutes before the date even turned. I opened the minibar. Everything was warm. The Coke can had no label, just a smooth red shell. The chips were sealed, but inside, I heard ticking. The mirror no longer showed me. It showed the bed. Even when I stood in front of it, the reflection stayed fixed on the empty bed, like I wasn't part of this room anymore. I grabbed my bag, kicked the door open, ran, found the lobby. The clerk was still there. Same posture, same crooked tie, but his face was wrong. Mouth too wide, eyes too round, like he was wearing a human skin suit 2 sizes too tight. He smiled and said, "Checking out already." I turned and ran back to the stairwell. It ended at one door, room 404. Only this time, the number was carved into the wood from the inside. I woke up to the sound of the shower running, but I hadn't turned it on. When I opened the bathroom door, thick steam spilled out like smoke, humid and choking. Through it, I saw a silhouette, someone standing beneath the water, methodically washing their face, wearing my clothes. I froze. The figure turned toward me, and my stomach twisted. It had no face, just skin, smooth, blank, unfinished, like a mannequin carved out of memory. I slammed the door, heart racing, only to hear a voice from the other side whisper, "That's not your body anymore." I stumbled backward into the room, shaking. The TV had turned on by itself again, but this time it was showing live footage of me, sleeping. From above, I glanced up. There was no camera, no light, no vent, just ceiling tiles that now appeared to breathe softly, like something was alive behind them. I grabbed the hotel Bible on the nightstand out of sheer instinct, hoping for anything to anchor me. But every single page was blank except one. Scrawled in jagged handwriting, "They don't delete you, they archive you." That's when the flood of memories hit, except they weren't mine. A woman with green eyes I didn't recognize, screaming my name. A job I never worked. A birthday party I never had. I remembered living an entire other life, and then another. Overlapping fragments from versions of me that should not exist. And that's when it hit me. Room 404 isn't haunted, it's a filter. It sorts you. It decides which version of you is stable enough to stay outside, and which ones need to be locked away. I wasn't chosen. I was shelved. And the worst part is, I'm not alone in here. I don't know how long I've been here. The clock stopped ticking days ago. The lights don't dim anymore. They just hum constant. Sterile. There's no sense of morning or night. I eat, but I don't get hungry. I sleep, but I never dream. Every time I close my eyes, I feel like I'm being watched. Not from the outside, but from within. Like something is wearing me, learning me. The mirror still doesn't show my reflection. It shows the bed, the hallway. Sometimes someone else sitting in the chair by the door. I've stopped checking. I can feel the room shifting. The corners don't meet the way they used to. I once tried marking the walls with my fingernails to track time. But the next morning, every mark was gone, except for one I didn't make. It simply read, "You are the error." That's what this place is. Isn't it a correction system? A digital trash bin for the realities that don't line up. I don't think I was supposed to survive something out there. Maybe I died. Maybe I glitched. But instead of disappearing, I landed here, in room 404, the room no one is meant to find. And now, I hear knocking. Not at the door, there is no door anymore, but behind the walls, beneath the floor, from inside the mirror. I know what's coming. The new version of me, the correct one, is probably out there now, living my life, remembering my memories, smiling in photos I'll never take. If you're watching this, if somehow this reaches you, ask yourself one thing. Do you remember checking in? Or did the room pick you before you even noticed? Because once you step into 404, it doesn't matter who you were. It only matters who gets to leave. Everyone in our dorm knows one rule. Don't do laundry after 100, mum. But last week, I broke it, and I haven't been able to sleep since. The basement laundry room isn't technically locked. It just feels like it should be. You have to take the south stairwell down, past the flickering vending machines and the old boiler room that smells like wet metal and forgotten time. There's no cell signal down there. The Wi-Fi cuts off. And for some reason, no matter how many times they change the bulbs, half the overhead lights stay burned out. But the machines still work. At least, they do when they want to. That night, I had no choice. I spilled coffee on every white shirt I owned during a group project meltdown. Finals were coming. My anxiety was a spike in my throat, so I grabbed my laundry basket and snuck downstairs, ignoring the quiet warnings my suite mate had whispered earlier. Just don't. If you hear anything strange, don't look, don't speak. I laughed it off. We're adults. Right? Ghost stories don't belong in college dorms. But when I reached the basement, the air was wrong. Stale. Thick. Like the walls hadn't exhaled in years. And when I stepped into the laundry room, fluorescent light flickering, machines humming low, I saw something scrawled across the dryer in Sharpie. If the washer stops before the cycle ends, leave. Don't check. Don't open it. Just go. I wish I had listened. The machines were old but familiar off-white Maytags with cracked lids and buttons you had to jam with your knuckle. I loaded the clothes, poured the detergent, slammed the lid shut, and pressed start. A low mechanical whir answered me. I sat on the plastic bench across from it, scrolling on my phone. But something felt wrong. The air vibrated slightly, like the hum of the machine wasn't just mechanical but alive, like a throat clearing. I looked up. The fluorescent light above me flickered again, casting a brief, jagged shadow across the floor. For a split second, I thought someone was standing behind the dryer. But when I blinked, it was gone. 6 minutes into the wash cycle, the machine stopped. No beeps. No error message. Just silence. I checked the power, everything else still hummed. The dryer beside it was off. Untouched. The light above me flickered again. Then I heard it. A soft thump. from inside the washer. Not the sound of soaked clothes shifting, but heavier. Rhythmic. Thump. Pause. Thump. Like knuckles. I froze. Then came the second sound, a slow, deliberate scrape metal against metal from somewhere beneath the machine, as if something was shifting underneath it. I stood up, unsure why my hands were trembling. And that's when I noticed it. My reflection in the washer's glass door wasn't moving. It was staring directly at me. Smiling. And it wasn't wearing what I was wearing. I bolted toward the hallway, heartbeat pounding in my ears, but the door I came through wasn't there anymore. In its place was another washer, humming silently like it had been there all along. I turned, disoriented. The lights buzzed louder now. Every flicker was slower, more deliberate, like the room was breathing in intervals. I ran the opposite direction, past the machines, toward the back exit that led to the boiler room. But the hallway kept going, and going. I swear I ran 50 feet but passed the same water-stained ceiling tile 3 times. When I stopped, gasping for air, the wall beside me had a new door, one I hadn't seen before. No handle, just painted black numbers that read 1B. Not floor B1. -1. I backed away, but the floor groaned beneath me, soft like fabric under tension. Suddenly, the washer that had stopped earlier clicked open behind me, and something stepped out. It wasn't dripping wet. It wasn't even human. It looked like me, but taller, face stretched too thin, eyes too round, skin warped like it had been ironed and reassembled. It tilted its head, mirroring my fear perfectly. Then it grinned and mouthed, without sound, "You're the load that never finished." I turned and ran straight into the wall. Because the hallway had vanished, now there was only the laundry room. Endless. And every machine was running. I tried to scream, but my voice came out muffled, like I was underwater. My legs moved on their own, not forward, but in a slow, unnatural circle around the machines. I wasn't choosing to walk. I was being guided, like invisible hands were puppeteering me through a dance I didn't remember learning. The walls weren't walls anymore. They breathed in and out, pulsing like lungs. Pipes twisted above me like veins, leaking rust-colored water that smelled like pennies and burnt hair. The washers no longer had doors. Just spinning voids, black, endless, and full of something, watching. And inside one of them, I saw myself again. Not the thing from before. This one was closer. It blinked. It mouthed my name. But then it reached out of the spinning drum, its hand stretching beyond physical space, and touched my shoulder. I didn't feel cold. I felt erased. Memories began peeling back like paint. First small things, my freshman roommate's name, the scent of my dad's aftershave, the birthday where no one showed. Then bigger pieces, my voice, my major, my reason for being here. I saw flashes of other versions of me crying in dorm stairwells I'd never been to, holding hands with people I never met. And one of them was screaming at the others, "It's not a laundry room. It's a machine that scrubs the world clean. We're the stains." I wanted to run, to leave, to remember, but I couldn't even remember what I was trying to remember. And in that moment, I realized the only way out was to forget myself completely and let it finish the cycle. I woke up in my dorm room. My sheets smelled like detergent, the cheap kind they use in public machines. My laundry basket was full of warm, folded clothes, some I didn't remember owning. The overhead light buzzed softly. My phone read 3:17 a.m. A new notification blinked. Washer cycle complete. Everything looked normal, except I didn't remember coming back upstairs. I stared at the mirror above my desk for a long time, Something about my reflection felt off. My eyes looked darker. My left pupil slightly larger than my right. My posture too straight, like I was imitating myself. I waved. My reflection hesitated a beat too long before copying me. And then it smiled. I didn't. Classes resumed. Friends waved at me like nothing happened. But their names slipped through my head like static. I forgot answers on tests I had studied for. Laughed at jokes I didn't understand. People said I seemed different, calmer, quieter. My roommate told me I slept with my eyes open now, that I whispered strange sounds in my sleep like a spin cycle looping forever. Some nights, I wake up already standing, facing the door, waiting for something to open. But it never does. I haven't dared return to the basement, but I hear it sometimes. Through the vents, the hum of machines that shouldn't be running, the slosh of water, the rhythmic thump, 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 like someone still stuck inside, waiting for their cycle to end. I don't know who walked out of that laundry room. I don't even know if it was me. But whatever made it back to the surface, it remembers just enough to keep pretending. So here's my warning. If you ever find yourself standing alone in a dorm basement after midnight, and the washer stops mid-cycle, don't check, don't speak, don't look. Because if the machine decides you're the stain, it'll keep spinning until you're gone, and something else wears your skin like it always belonged. They told me the trail behind our town was a dead end, but when I followed it all the way to the tree line, there was a house waiting. A house that no one remembered building. We grew up thinking the woods behind Glenvale were empty, just pine, thorn bush, and the occasional deer blind nailed to an old trunk. The path ends where the land turns to swamp, maybe a mile and a half out. Everyone knows that. There's nothing past it but fog and silence. That's what we were told. That's what we believed. Until last fall, when my dog disappeared. I chased her past the usual trail markers, calling her name through the brush. She didn't come. But the deeper I went, the quieter the world became. No birds. No wind. Even my footsteps stopped making sound. And then just as I reached the edge of where the forest should have ended, I saw it. A 2-story wooden house. No driveway. No mailbox. No sign of rot or dust. Just sitting there, like it had always been waiting, tucked between the trees, hidden behind time. Windows dark. Front door cracked open, and carved into the frame under layers of untouched bark were 5 words burned deep into the wood. You should not be here. I stepped inside, half expecting dust or decay. But everything was pristine. The air didn't smell like forest or mildew. It smelled sterile, like hospital sheets and cold plastic. The walls were wooden, sure, but polished too smooth, like they'd never aged. A fire flickered quietly in the hearth, but there was no heat, just the sound, looping. Same 3 crackles, over and over. I walked through the main room, past a table set for dinner. 3 plates, all empty, all spotless, each with a fork turned the exact same direction. And then I heard it. A voice. From upstairs. My voice. Hey, is someone there? I froze. It was perfect. Not similar exactly my voice. My tone, my pacing, my hesitation. Footsteps creaked above me. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. I backed toward the door, but the wood behind me was gone. Just wall. Seamless. Like the house had never had an exit. I looked up. The ceiling was moving. Breathing. Expanding and contracting with the rhythm of something alive. The voice came again, Closer this time. You made it back. Finally. I spun around, heart pounding. No one was there. But on the floorboards by the stairwell, I saw muddy prints, bare feet. My size. Same arch. Same stagger from the bad ankle I broke sophomore year. I didn't know what terrified me more, that something in this house was trying to become me. Or that maybe I had already been replaced. I made the mistake of going upstairs. Each step groaned like it had been waiting for me. The second floor didn't match the layout from below. Hallways looped into each other. Doorways led to rooms that repeated same wallpaper, same rocking chair, same lit candle burning without a wick. The worst part wasn't the repetition. It was the tiny variations. In one room, the bed was made. In another, the sheets were still wrinkled, but the pillow had an indentation, like someone had just been lying there. I heard the voice again. My voice. Laughing now. Low. Broken. And it was coming from behind every door. I tried opening one, and inside was me, or something shaped like me, sitting cross-legged on the floor, mimicking the way I hold my phone. Except it was holding a rock, tapping it, smiling. It turned toward me with a jerk, like a puppet. And I swear its eyes weren't eyes, just wet mirrors. I slammed the door and ran. Every hallway led to another version of the same room. Dozens of them. Some copies stood in corners, eyes shut, mouths moving as if reciting lines. Others stood in front of mirrors, studying themselves, trying to learn how to smile right. The house wasn't watching me. It was studying me, copying me. And somewhere in here, one of them had almost finished. At some point, I stopped running. Not because I found an exit, but because I found the truth. There was a room deeper than the rest, beneath a trapdoor hidden under the warped carpet. I lifted it open and climbed down. The air smelled electric, like ozone before lightning. But there was no storm, just silence and machines. Hundreds of old TVs, stacked wall to ceiling, each screen flickering static, then briefly flashing clips me, blinking, laughing, crying, sleeping. Moments I remembered and others I didn't. Moments I hadn't lived yet. In the center of the room was a chair, and in that chair was something trying to wear my shape. It looked close, but not perfect. The face twitched every few seconds, like it was still deciding which expression fit. The eyes blinked in random rhythms. The mouth opened, too wide, then too small, like it hadn't figured out breathing yet. It stared at me, then spoke with a voice that was almost mine. "You left the trail open." I asked it what it was. It didn't answer. Just reached out and touched the wall. Instantly, one of the TVs changed. On screen, me standing in my dorm hallway, backpack on, smiling at a friend. Except, I was still here, still underground. And the thing smiled again. Not out of triumph, out of completion. The house isn't haunted. The house is hungry. And when you find it, it keeps the original and sends the copy back in your place. I don't remember how I left the house, or if I did. One moment I was staring at the thing in the chair, and the next, I was waking up in my bedroom. Not in the cabin. In town. In my bed. Fully dressed, phone in my hand. Alarm buzzing like nothing happened. The sun was up. The birds were chirping. Everything looked exactly how it should be. Almost. When I stood up, the floor creaked differently. Breakfast tasted like metal. My reflection in the bathroom mirror blinked a half-second after I did. I tried telling people what happened. My best friend laughed it off. "You've been stressed, man. You probably fell asleep in the woods again." But I saw the flicker in his eyes. Like he knew. Like he'd seen something too, but had forgotten. Or was made to forget. I started noticing things. Little things. The grocery store cashier asking how my dog was. But I never told her I had a dog. The teacher handing back a paper I didn't remember writing with handwriting that wasn't quite mine. My mom called and said, "You sound different lately." And when I asked her what she meant, there was silence. Then a click. I don't sleep much now. Not because I'm scared. Because I don't know if I'm allowed to. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I feel wood grain pressing against my spine, the walls breathing again. That smell of static and forest rot. And I wonder, am I still in the house? Is this the dream? Or did it send me back out as something else? Whatever the truth is, I don't think I can fix it. I think the trail opened for a reason, and I think it's still open. So if one day you're walking in the woods and find a house that shouldn't exist, don't go inside. Don't speak to your reflection. And whatever you do, don't trust the version of you that walks out. Because by the time you realize it's not really you anymore, it's already too late. It started with a jacket, one I never bought, but it fit me perfectly and had my name stitched inside. I live alone. That's important to remember. I keep a tight routine. Work, gym, groceries on Thursdays. I clean the apartment every Sunday. I lock my front door every night, double check. Always. I don't leave things lying around. So when I came home one evening and found a dark green windbreaker draped over my desk chair, I assumed I'd made a mistake. Maybe I picked it up from the gym by accident. But then I looked inside the collar. Stitched neatly in red thread was my full name. First, middle, last. The problem, I've never owned that jacket in my life. I tried to throw it away. But the next morning, it was back. Folded this time. Sitting on my bed. Then came the boots. Work boots. My exact size. Same wear pattern on the heels as mine, but they weren't mine. Not quite. The brand was wrong. The soles had dirt I didn't recognize, red clay, like the kind we don't have anywhere near here. I asked my neighbor if they'd been in my apartment. They just looked at me and said, "Didn't you move out last month?" That's when it clicked. The apartment isn't haunted. It's remembering. But not just my memories. Someone or something is sending pieces of a life I never lived back to me. And every item fits better than the last. I started cataloging the items. It was the only thing that made sense. Every 2 or 3 days, something new appeared. A razor I'd never bought. A copy of The Outsider with margin notes in handwriting that looked exactly like mine, but more elegant, more practiced. A photo in a cracked silver frame. Me, smiling at someone I've never met. Arms slung casually around their shoulder like we were lifelong friends. There was a date scrawled on the back. August 14th, 2019. I checked my phone. On that day, I was recovering from surgery, sedated, unconscious, alone in a hospital bed. I couldn't have been anywhere else. But there I was, in that photo, laughing in the sun. I stopped showing the items to friends. The more I shared, the less they seemed to believe me. One even joked, "You sure you're not messing with yourself?" I laughed too. But deep down, I was scared he might be right. One night, I stayed up until 3:00 mum. Lights off, apartment silent, camera pointed at my kitchen. I wanted to catch whatever was leaving things behind. Nothing happened for hours, but right before dawn, my camera picked up motion. Someone stepped into the frame. Same build, same posture, same scar under the left eyebrow. But it wasn't me, because I was still in bed, eyes wide open, frozen in place. The figure walked to my kitchen drawer, pulled out a spoon, and set it on the counter. Then whispered. In my voice, I remember this one. I stopped throwing the objects away. It didn't matter. They always returned. More precise. More personal. A hoodie with the exact bleach stain I got in high school. A signed birthday card from my grandmother who died before I turned 12. A playlist on my laptop titled Driving to Oregon, 2018. I've never been to Oregon, but I recognized every song. That's when I found the folder. It wasn't there before. A plain directory on my desktop titled Archive 0. I clicked. Inside were hundreds of videos, each one labeled with a date, each one showing me doing things I don't remember. Baking, crying in the shower, arguing with someone just out of frame. Sometimes, I'd look straight at the camera and say things like, "This one won't last long," or almost finished downloading. I yanked the hard drive, ran across town, plugged it into a library computer. The folder was gone. So I did something stupid. I asked it a question. I stared into my hallway mirror and whispered, "What are you trying to make me into?" And the reflection smiled. Before I did. Just a half-second faster. I haven't slept since. The lights in my apartment flicker in rhythm now. 4 quick pulses every night at 2:14 a.m. I tried filming it, but on playback. I'm never in the frame. Just the objects, arranged around the room, like a shrine, to a version of me that never lived, or one that already died. I thought I was the victim. Thought I was being haunted, manipulated, erased. But the truth hit me last week, hard and quiet like a glitch settling into a frozen screen. I opened my closet, looking for my coat, and found a small cardboard box I didn't recognize. Inside were 2 things, a journal and a flash drive. The journal was written in my handwriting, but the tone was wrong. It was colder, methodical. Each entry detailed moments of my life I hadn't lived yet, conversations, dates, even arguments word for word. On the last page, 1 line. If you're reading this, the install is complete. I plugged in the drive. It contained 1 file, final version. Move it open to footage of me sitting in this exact apartment. Same shirt, same lighting. He looked up at the camera and said, "You'll start to remember things soon. Some won't make sense. That's normal. Integration always takes a few weeks." Then he smiled sadly. "And I'm sorry, but we had to leave. You're the last version, the one that gets to stay." He looked directly into the lens, into me. "Don't try to find us. You weren't made for that." The screen went black. I looked around my apartment. Every object, every memory, every thought suddenly fragile. Scripted, like they were uploaded piece by piece into a shell. Into me. Because I'm not the original. I'm the backup, the placeholder, the ghost built from echoes of a life that no longer exists. And everyone who loved the old me, they already left. They uploaded themselves somewhere I'll never reach. It's been 23 days since I watched the video, since I realized I'm not who I thought I was. And the worst part is, nothing feels different. I still wake up with the same thoughts. I still crave the same breakfast. I still remember every inside joke with people who don't return my calls anymore. I still feel hurt when my mom replies with 1-word texts. Still feel warmth when I pass by the cafe where I first fell in love, except I now know that memory was given to me. A scene someone else lived, uploaded into my mind like a movie I'm supposed to believe is mine. I'm not glitching. I'm not rotting. I'm functioning, which is what makes it worse. Because if I have all the feelings, if I bleed when I get cut, if I cry at songs I remember from my childhood, what separates me from the original? Is it the fact that they left or that I stayed at night? I hear movement in the walls, not rats, not pipes. I think it's versions, other fragments, other placeholders who didn't get activated. Some of them whisper, others just watch. I feel them sometimes in the mirror, just half a frame off. I leave the lights on now, not because I'm scared of the dark, but because I'm terrified it might flicker, and I'll see the real me watching. The one who moved on, the one who got to leave. I've started writing letters I never send, just to feel real. I leave them in drawers, behind radiators, under floorboards. Maybe another version will find them. Maybe they'll believe me. Or maybe that's part of the loop, too. So, if you find an object in your house that doesn't belong, a photograph, a coat, a voice that sounds like yours behind the door, don't ignore it. Don't throw it away. Because the past isn't gone. It's just been copied. And one day, it might come looking for a place to live again. Maybe the scariest part isn't the ghosts. Not the bloodstains that reappear after scrubbing. Not the footsteps that echo behind you when no one's there. Not even the thing in the mirror blinking just a second too late. The real horror. It's the possibility that you're not the first version of yourself to live this life. That someone else wore your skin. Loved your friends. Kissed your partner goodnight. And vanished quietly, leaving only echoes behind. What if the reason you can't remember your childhood clearly isn't trauma, but replacement? What if that noise in the hallway isn't your house settling, but something coming back to reclaim what was once theirs? Every story you've just heard, every cabin, every reflection, every strange rule and vanishing town isn't fiction. Not really. They're warnings, wrapped in memory. So check your closet again. Check that old hoodie with the name stitched inside. Check the photo you swear wasn't there yesterday. Because maybe, just maybe, your story is next. And when it begins, you won't even realize you're already in the middle of it. If this gave you chills, let me know what part stayed with you the most in the comments. And if you've ever felt like your life isn't entirely yours, save this video to come back to later. Because sometimes, the truth doesn't hit right away. Oh, and one last thing, don't forget to subscribe. I'll be watching. Or maybe, you will.